Manila, 1953. The city steamed with heat, sweat, and sin. From the smoky alleys of Divisoria to the candlelit halls of old cathedrals, shadows crept in the corners where eyes dared not linger. In a forgotten jail cell, a girl was screaming. Her name was Clarita Villanueva, 17 years old. Half orphan, half ghost already. No one knew where she truly came from. Her mother, a self-proclaimed spiritista, had died years earlier. Her father, a name lost to memory. Clarita survived the streets by reading palms and whispering predictions for coins. Until the police picked her up for vagrancy. A small crime that would lead to something far darker than prison bars. She was locked in cell 13 of Manila City Jail, a number that some feared. But to the guards, it was just another cell, another girl, another problem. Until the bites began. Clarita screamed in the night, not from nightmares, but from pain. She claimed something was attacking her, something no one else could see. Tall, she said, hairy, with red eyes and long, sharp teeth. They came when she was alone. They bit her neck, her arms, her thighs. And when the guards rushed in, they found her, bleeding. At first, they laughed, thought it was hysteria, or worse, attention-seeking. But then, they saw it. One guard watched a mark appear before his eyes. A fresh bite, skin breaking, blood trickling, and nothing, no one near her. That's when the prison doctor was called. And then the press. And then the priests. The girl who once whispered fortunes on the sidewalk now sat trembling in chains, speaking in tongues. Voice too deep, too old, too hateful to belong to her. She cursed the nuns, spat on crosses, and shouted names that no one taught her. Even the most skeptical began to feel something wrong, something ancient, watching from the corners of that tiny cell. What was happening to Clarita? Mass hysteria? Demonic possession? Psychosis? Or something worse? Something that doesn't need your belief to exist. Because what bit Clarita was real. Too real. And soon, it wouldn't be just Clarita who felt the teeth. Next time, the city turns its eyes on the cell. Doctors will fail. Faith will be tested. And something old will be called into battle. Because when darkness wraps around a soul, it doesn't let go easily. They called it temporary insanity. Dissociative disorder, said one. Hysteria, claimed another. But even they couldn't explain how she could speak fluent Latin, a language Clarita never knew, how she uttered ancient curses, mocked sacred names, and described private sins of those around her. She looked at one nun and said, "You fear the night because he visits you in your dreams." The nun collapsed, sobbing. Another visitor, a priest, lasted only 3 minutes before leaving the cell, muttering that something watched him from the ceiling. Clarita no longer responded to her name. Sometimes she didn't speak at all, just stared, eyes blank, mouth twisted. But when she did speak, she'd whisper, "He's coming back. The big one. He eats my insides." Then came a name. One whispered across the prison halls like a prayer, or a curse. Lester Sumrall, a foreigner, an American preacher, who believed this wasn't madness, but warfare. Spiritual, ancient, real. He didn't come with tranquilizers or tools. He came with a Bible and a warning. If you want to keep her alive, you need to cast them out. But what do you do when the thing inside the girl doesn't want to leave? In the next episode, the battle begins. Not with weapons, not with science, but with faith and the terrible cost of using it. Because when you stare into the eyes of the possessed, you risk never coming back out whole. It was no longer a question of whether Clarita Villanueva was possessed. Too many had seen the impossible. Too many had heard the growls, seen the bites, watched her speak in dead tongues with a gaze that didn't belong to her. Now, the question was, could she be saved? Into the dark corridors of the Manila City Jail came a man. Tall, thin, tired-looking, clutching only a Bible and his conviction. His name was Lester Sumrall, an American missionary who had cast out demons before, but never like this. The girl was barely recognizable now. Eyes sunken, skin bruised, lips dry and trembling. But it wasn't the body that scared him. It was the presence. He later said, "The moment I stepped into that cell, I felt watched, like I'd entered the lion's den." Clarita hissed, mocked him, called him names from his past, accused him of sins he'd buried deep. But Sumrall didn't flinch. He began to pray, loud, firm, unbroken. He rebuked the spirits, one by one. For 6 hours, the girl screamed. Her body thrashed. Chains rattled against concrete. Blood poured from bite marks that appeared and vanished like breath on glass. Then, silence. But the stillness wasn't peace. It was resistance. Sumrall said there was more than one spirit. There were two, maybe three. One was smaller, like a parasite. But the other was ancient. He returned the next day, and the next. For 3 days, the battle raged. Witnesses described the scene as a war of wills. A preacher's voice rising over unearthly shrieks. A girl's body, caught in the crossfire of something none of them could name. Until the third day, when Clarita suddenly stopped. She opened her eyes, and for the first time in weeks, they were her own. She whispered, "They're gone," and collapsed into Sumrall's arms, crying. Clarita was freed, not just from jail, but from whatever had taken hold of her. She was never possessed again, never bitten, never spoke in tongues. She lived quietly after that, out of the spotlight. Some say she became a believer. Some say she simply disappeared. But those who were there, those who saw the teeth, heard the voices, and felt the chill in that cursed cell, they would never forget. What happened in Manila in 1953 was real, and it left behind a message. Evil doesn't need to be believed to bite.